If you're in a creative field and you're not using AI tools right now, you are so far behind. I don't know how the hell you're going to catch up.
Prose and Comms.
Welcome to Prose and Comms, Engagement Unplugged. I'm Brian Rowley.
And I'm Laura Smith.
Laura and I, we have talked a lot about AI from a business and marketing perspective, but today we're actually taking a different approach. We want to look at it through the lens of a creative. And, creative work has always been about ideas and skills, but AI is actually starting to change that and how all of that actually works. And it's making some things faster and easier, but also raising a big question about originality and value. So today we're getting into the real conversations agency creatives are having right now. And we have a really special guest, someone who lives this every day. And it's actually our producer, Joey. Joey, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Joey Joe, it's so fun to have you on this side with us.
It's an interesting little flip. I like it. I'm glad to be in the seat here chatting.
Let's be honest. He's been wanting to be on this side of it for a while, and we just had to figure out a way to get him in.
I know. FOMO. Now he's on.
Thanks for accepting my bribe. No, just kidding.
All right, Joey, let's dive in. Obviously, you're creative, and you and I worked together for a million years. And back in the day when we all started working together, I would say AI wasn't even a thing yet. And if it was, it probably wasn't something that was part of anyone's every day. It was almost like this thing that's out there that's like, oh, this cool new advancement in technology. Less so for us using it on the agency side at the time. So since then, lots has changed. So tell us a little bit about how your world as a creative, which touches various types of creativity in your day-to-day role, how you're using it and how you see that kind of taking a lead role as part of you and your team's everyday work.
So I can't speak for every creative out there. That should be obvious. But in my experience, like you mentioned, we worked together for a long time. And when I started in agency life, it was about almost 13 years ago. It was your traditional kind of creative agency setup. So you had an executive creative director at the top. You had associate creative directors under him, and then there was art directors. There was a team of copywriters, and then I was kind of a hybrid role. So I was doing a lot of video work and some audio production, things like that. And so it was a whole system that everything had to go through and get funneled down through. And, the junior folks draft ideas up, send it up the ladder. And it's just a constant, cycle. It took a long time to come up with concepts and actually create things. Because that's just the internal struggle there. Then you have to show it to the account team. Then the account team's got to filter it to the actual client. So nowadays, the agency that I'm at, it's a much smaller, nimbler creative team. And so AI is used quite a bit by me to kind of brainstorm, help me brainstorm ideas, create mockups really fast, and I guess compete with the bigger agencies out there that still kind of use that model, that have big teams, big budgets. This helps us at our agency kind of stay competitive.
Do you think, Joey, that in most industries, right, it's really taken over, and it really is. And I know you're not going to talk to all the industries that are out there, but it's actually been really like one of those things where you have to adopt it. It's a must. You need to do it. You need to integrate it into your work. I mean, there's task force within organizations that are focused on that. Is that same pressure to pull it into agency life as evident in agencies as it is in other places? Or is there still like that feeling of like, oh, well, hey, there's copyright concerns, there's all these other concerns that come into it. Like, are those outweighing some of the adoption, or is it going fast and furious like it is in all the other places?
It is so fast. It is so furious. That's how I feel. If you're in the creative field, gosh, if you're in any field, honestly, but speaking from personal experience, if you're in a creative field and you're not using AI tools right now, you are so far behind.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell you're going to catch up, honestly. When ChatGPT dropped, 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was, I was on it so fast because, budgets have been shrinking and creative teams are shrinking. And so I saw the potential for it right away. I mentioned, years ago, copywriters, we had a whole copywriter team. Now it's like I can draft copy myself, and obviously we'll get into this later. We're not going to use the outputs that we get from LLMs, like just whatever they give us. We're not going to just use it. We're going to like put our final touch on. But headlines, I need help. I'm trying to draft them up in Photoshop and things like that. And I have really verbose kind of concepts for headlines. I'll just throw it into ChatGPT and get that really shrunk down to my character limit that I have to use. I was doing that right in the beginning, and I saw the potential for it. I might have got off track a little bit. Remind me what the core of your question was again.
No, just if it's taking that pace, right, that we're seeing in other industries, like is that push that's there? Because I will tell you that it's in every meeting that we go to. And I will tell you, even myself and Laura, when we're having conversations with our team,
we're all using it fast.
Did you run that through AI, right? Whatever it is, we use Claude, we've used ChatGPT, but did you run it through Claude just to see what it says, right? I mean, you've heard us talk about the concept of like, we don't start with it, right? We start ourselves and we use it to guide us, but at the same time, there is a big push for it to be used. And I was just curious if you're seeing that same need and push in that agency space.
I don't see it as strongly that you guys see it at BrightSign. At our agency, it's every once in a while, it'll be brought up. I bring it up with my team, my core team all the time. And I'm hit over the head with it on like X or Twitter. It's just, my feed is littered with it. And so it's also like, I was just in San Francisco, every billboard says AI in some capacity. So it's everywhere.
With that, Joey, like I feel like it's part of everyday life. And I think like even thinking about it, your own personal lives, like I use it a ton in my personal life, and that's where I do defer to ChatGPT. Just that's where I've started it, and that's kind of where I continue. But I want to go back to a point that you made, and just because I don't think we have a solution, because we don't have a person in a big creative agency sitting here. But I do wonder, because to your point, like the model's similar as far as structurally, hierarchically, those big agencies have big teams. There's lots of like, everyone has a role, all of that. I'd want, like, to my mind, a smaller agency would be much more inclined to capitalize on AI, because it's like, okay, we have to be nimble. We have to move quick. We may not have like a senior copywriter. We may only have a junior copywriter, and maybe that person just needs more assistance through the process. So I feel like in a smaller agency, that seems like it's going to be an everyday, part of the creative process, part of the writing process, whatever that may be. Bigger agencies, I do wonder, I mean, they're obviously using them, because you see like some of these commercials that are being built using AI, and obviously those are usually bigger agencies. But it's just, again, I'm not looking for an answer because I don't think we have it, but it would be interesting to like truly dive into the differences of how they're used, just inherently based on how they're built and staffed, right?
Yeah, I know. As the creative leader of a really, really small creative team, I just feel the pressure for some reason to implement it and use it. Maybe because like I just look back and I just see my department shrinking over time. And so there's like this kind of like survival mode that kicks in. I'm a very huge tech nerd. I've always been that way. And so I always am looking and interested in new technologies. So I'm thankful for that, just a part of my personality. So it's helped me kind of gravitate towards AI, but also I'm very cynical too as a person, my personality. And so like, I'm sure we'll get into it, but like the whole AI slop thing, like I see that all the time. And it's a struggle with me personally. I grapple with this constantly. It's like, I can't be a hypocrite because I'm like, look at this crap that I see constantly. I know kind of why it exists. And then I put myself, I'm like empathetic. So I'm putting myself in the creative person that chose to do this as shoes. And I'm like, maybe they're in a kind of similar situation like me, where they're going to get left behind. They have a small team, they have shrinking deadlines, but the differentiation there, well, I'm proud, I think, of why I don't fall into the slop category yet, is that it comes down to taste, having good taste. That you can't, AI cannot give you that. And I don't think it ever will be able to. And so it's a tool at the end of the day. And you guys say this constantly on the show. It is a tool that can get you started. It can get you over a hump, but it can't create good taste. So that is a skill that is learned over time. It takes years. Mentors teach you. You as a creative, just looking at good creative, learning from the masters, the graphic designers of the 60s, 70s, watching film, like all this kind of, it sounds pretentious, but this is how you develop taste. Large language models, they don't have taste. They never will. And so, yes, juniors in the field, it's probably really scary for them, and I feel for them. Coming out of college and trying to get a job. And these agencies, these companies are like, we don't really need juniors anymore, because like the seniors can use AI to do kind of what maybe they have done in the past. But if you focus on developing good taste and using the tools that are available, you can get somewhere good, and you won't be left behind. And you will set yourself apart creatively than the rest, because you just can't teach it. Excuse me, you can teach it, but you can't teach it to an LLM.
I think the juniors is an interesting conversation, but I would actually even ask the question of, I'm assuming that even from the agency side, you're probably even seeing businesses themselves, never mind juniors, but the individual businesses themselves taking on more of it rather than outsourcing it to an agency, right? Like there's a lot of work that we can do ourselves.
I was going to say, I think our relationship, right?
Yeah.
We can just be candid about it.
Yeah.
We're doing less, in certain regards, we're doing less of those kind of tasks and things for you guys at Brightsign, just because of what you're kind of alluding to, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
I was going to say, because as an example this morning, like one of the team members sent me a bunch of imagery used for, we're going to use for a new campaign. And it was, some of it's real imagery. Then there's like AI creations that she created. And going back to a little bit of that slop, Joey, like, and this is like, it's taken the team time to get to, certain scenarios and visuals and elements to like really trying to tell a story. And so it's not easy work, but that, I had to flag many of them to say, this is so fake.
Mm-hmm.
Like this would never, I'm seeing too much in this photo that I'm seeing where things are like, look at the person in the background. That person is not even fully built out. And again, that's not like, that's no fault of the team. This is like, we're trying to do things internally to save on budget and to make sure our teams are being very nimble and, learning themselves. But, going back to it, like you can see right through some of that. So then it's like, we just chopped a bunch of those. Okay. Well, then what do we do? Do we have enough imagery for the campaign? And that's kind of the struggle we face as, and we're not artistic professionals. So we're doing the best we can, but some cases it can win. In other cases, it's just like, you can't fake it. So just stop.
So any creatives out there, that's my advice to you guys is you heard it right from a potential client situation, clients kind of taking some of these things in-house. They're using, AI to help them, but you can't always get these things done super quickly because there's like an art form that we're all kind of like learning together, creatives and non-creatives, like how to like prompt and like how to get what you need and how are you even using the right AI tool? I mean, on a day-to-day basis, new tools are coming out. New large language models are coming out that can do something better than yesterday could. So you could be using an AI image generation tool that is already outdated. But I think for Brightsign, it's interesting because like in terms of your creative, like you guys actually have a really good use case for it because you advertise in so many different vertical sectors. And you sometimes aren't afforded the luxury of having like assets from your customers from installations and stuff. And so you're trying to advertise to companies to use Brightsign, but you might not actually have like a photo of an installation or something, or you're in the travel vertical, and so maybe you don't have those photos of those installations of the signage and all those things, and so you can bring that stuff to life and show what it would look like with AI very, not easily, but much more easier than just like faking it in some way. So I find that interesting how like you as a company, BrightSign as a company, has like a really good grounded like use case for it, where it's not just like the word slop for slop's sake, you know, but not all companies have that luxury.
And we spend a ton of time, though, to Laura's point. Like, I mean, Laura, no one edits like Laura. I mean, she's got eyes like you've never seen before, as you know.
Oh, I know.
Right? But
I know.
Is this a compliment? Wait, is there a compliment? A Laura compliment
it's
we're having
it's
right
one
now?
a
Because
year.
this
It's one a year. I'm getting it out of the way early,
never
and then it's going to end. But I mean, I think that's the level of focus that people need to have. Like, I mean, hands is the biggest thing. Like, I like zoom in on hands instantly in AI models, because there's always either missing fingers or too many fingers or whatever the case may be. The fingers always.
The hands nowadays, right? The hands nowadays is like a dead giveaway that like they're maybe not using the best tools available.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them have figured that out now. So
yeah. But the other thing, Joey, that I would say is, you know, and Laura and I, we just went through this exercise on something that we were working on, and one of the folks that we were talking to had said, you know, well, we've got someone on the team who's really good at AI from a creative perspective. And we immediately we were like, okay, that's important. So like when we have this conversation around like even the junior roles or companies looking for agencies, I think if someone's not utilizing AI and the team's not proficient in AI, I think they'll lose business as a result of it.
Absolutely.
Because from a client perspective, I want your time spent in the places where it really matters. And there's no doubt, no one can argue the fact that AI creates efficiency. So hours come down, right? You're not spending as much time on this. And that's important to a client. How do we get the most out of the budget that we have? Because you're seeing cutbacks, we see cutbacks. I don't think there's a business out there that's not trying to save money at some space. And this is a way to help you get more for the money that you're spending.
The time saving and the cost saving is going to funnel down through the client, down into the agency, into the creatives.
Yeah. The one thing I want to talk about, because we just have kind of like circled around it a bit, but the tools, right? Like you're 100% right. There are so many tools out there. It's overwhelming. And so someone like yourself, you're saying you're super into it. You want to learn, like you like love it. For me, I'm like, okay, like what am I hearing next? And I write them down because people talk about them. And then you're trying to figure out like, when do I use this versus that? But from your perspective, knowing that they change all their time, are there like a subset that like your go-tos? And again, not every, for what you do, because what you do creatively is different than what other creatives do. But
hold on, I got to get a pen. I got to take this down. I need to know what tools Joey's using.
All the listeners out there, if you don't hear me in a couple of months, it's because they fired me. So,
because we're now podcast producers.
This is my greatest fear coming to life, and you're hearing it. No. Yeah, there's a lot of tools I use, but I can go over some that I use like right now all the time. The first one would be like, so image generation is probably the most commonly used tool, like from a general sense, when you graduate from like a ChatGPT chatbot, right? The Ghibli phase on ChatGPT, like make me look like Japanese animation, like that whole phase, like everyone got into that. Right now, I think the best image generation model is called Nano Banana Pro.
Oh,
crazy name. I didn't make that up.
Love the name, actually. Nano Banana.
I know, that's really good.
That's Google's image generation. So Nano Banana Pro, you can the easiest way for you to check that out would be through Google Gemini's like Studio, AI Studio. I think it's like if you ask it to generate you an image on there, that's kind of the default model that it's going to pull. But it's really good at retaining likeness. So I could say, let's just for an example, I'm at an agency, so we're pitching like campaigns and ideas to clients all the time. And so maybe there's a celebrity that we want to have involved. And there's only so much you can communicate with like photoshopping like an image of said celebrity into like a situation that you're trying to like pitch. which was the old way to do it. And it's fine. But now you can literally use something like Nano Banana Pro, which I'll get into a little more detail about. What's really cool about it is you can feed it reference images up to like, I know 3. You can definitely do 3. So I could say, for example, here's this image of like some celebrity, and then put in another, like an object that I want to be in the shot or a location. So now I have these 3 images, and then it's uses natural language. And so you can say, take reference image 1 of Joey, me, I'm the celebrity, right? And put me in this bright sign office hanging out with Laura, reference image 2, and Brian. And it does a really, really, really good job of understanding context with reference images and then retaining the likeness that is in said references. So it's a really powerful tool for mockups. Really powerful. So check that out.
Yeah, I was going to say Gemini is the one that we've deferred to for imagery because it's always been better. It's definitely exactly what you said. I think we're finding that it's more realistic and it feels better than some of the other tools that we've seen.
I actually think that's what the team might be using, Brian. A lot of times with Gemini. I think so.
ChatGPT is also good because without getting into the super nitty gritty, it's like a multimodal model, and it's just really good at like context in terms of what you're describing the image to look at. But I haven't used it in a little while, and for a while it did have like this weird, all the image generations had like this kind of yellow tint to it, and so it kind of became like this dead giveaway that you used ChatGPT to generate the image. So it's a good source, but I would default to Nano Banana. Another tool, this is apropos to the show. It's called Suno. And this one is kind of controversial with all this is controversial really with creatives, but this one is a music generation platform. I think it was on like 60 Minutes. There was a whole thing on it because there's actual fully AI artists now. I don't know if you guys know this.
Yes, I've seen this. Like there's like a woman that's like, she's fully AI,
she's fake.
The singer.
And all the
She's
music
fake.
is generated. Now,
Yeah.
I think that is terrible, if you want my personal opinion. But for different use cases, it's cool. So for the show, I like to have a lot of fun. I'm kind of a silly goose. And so I use that to make jingles for the show. So for the hot seat and stuff, I'll know who the guest is. I'll know what their name is. And then I'll write the lyrics myself and I'll feed it into Suno and I'll say, here's the lyrics and I want the genre to be this. And every week I try to change the genre. So it's just always kind of a little bit of a surprise, it's like just a little bit of fun, So I'm not being super precious about it. It's not like this artistic thing I'm trying to do. It's just to have fun. And so I know you guys have liked those. You've chuckled a little bit.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
Well, it's always a surprise. Yeah. We never know what it's going to say and what it's going to sound like.
Yeah. And like I said, small creative agency, right? I don't have a whole sound, studio where like someone's, it's not like it's the Real Housewives where they have like custom music for each franchise and stuff. And
Ryan, so he's saying that we're a little lowbrow with our podcast?
I was actually,
I
was thinking we were going to a different route of like, what's your favorite Housewives episode?
Maybe a bonus question? Because the Real Housewives of Rhode Island is out.
Rhode Island's out, yes.
And it's kind of good.
I haven't seen it.
I don't watch these shows, so don't even go there.
Dang. Okay. I have one more for you guys, and it's audio related. The number one text-to-speech model we use sometimes. It's called 11 Labs. They're like the leader right now. The likeness that you can basically give it a reference track of somebody and it'll in like 30 seconds give you what they call a one-shot representation of the voice. So I can type anything in and all of a sudden I've got Alec Baldwin reading it. Or now this gets a little bit like, of course you wouldn't want to do that because it's an ethical concern, right? But we talked about like pitching, right? So let's go back to that example from a creative agency. Say I want to pitch a a celebrity to do a voiceover for a video. And they're like, really, you want to use that person? So now we can write the script, we can edit the video, and we could make a scratch track from the actual celebrity who we want to do the video voiceover, or who's already signed up, and we just kind of want to get it into a rough cut. And so that's really cool to be able to do.
That I'm sure is being used, just again, harkening back to my like ad agency days. Like we would put a lot of pitching around, like put this celebrity in this, and this day and age, or that day and age, we were still doing boards, right? Like, so there was nothing digital. Like we're carrying boards into a conference room, we're showing it. So it was like sketches of people. And then like, and I remember there was like one, it was like, and obviously the client loved the idea, but money came into play. But I think if you then can put like the soundtrack on that, because someone reading it like that person, maybe their energy comes through so much, or just like like I know me, I'm so visual, or just like I need to hear it and see it.
Same.
So that would be like, that's a really good way to sell things in, because on paper, I mean, yeah, no one does it on paper anymore, but even in that idea of like, here's a concept. Well, if you could start layering in the voice of that person and getting some of their personality in it, that's got to be, work wonders for some of that convincing of a client to say, we do need that person.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's the hardest thing as a creative in an agency is we have all these ideas in our head, and it's like, we're like, what do you mean you can't picture what I'm saying on this slide? And then you don't want to like waste all this time, like actually creating something for the client to be like, no, I don't like it. And so there's always this wrestle that you got to do with like trying to explain the vision without like doing the work to like show it.
Right.
And yeah, it's such a great tool for that, to get the client or somebody else who's not you into your head to see your vision.
But that's always the hardest thing, right? Like everyone struggles. Like, I mean, not everyone's creative is the reality of it. And so you have a vision, and conveying that and getting that out there. I mean, the abilities, think about it, just even, when we talk about voiceovers, how much time we spend focusing on like, oh, we need them to read this script to be able to tell. And if you could kind of get to a point where you're like, okay, this is along the lines of where we're trying to get to, and then you fill in the talent after, it at least gives the client a better perspective.
Right. Because Joey, you were always the voiceover. Mm-hmm. You're always like that temporary voiceover, but like you may not be the voice we want, right. Or any, that you're just, you read a certain way, and some clients and some, people want to use you in that video just like that same thing. But now you can basically use an example to say, this is the style, type, tone, whatever. And it helps us understand where you're going with it.
Definitely. And like from I'll just say, just from experience, like it can do tone, direction and stuff, but it gets a little tricky. Like you have to really get in there with the script and put a bracket and then write like excited, close bracket. And like it's constantly generation. And it starts to veer in like time wasting. So, but it can do like the timbre of someone's voice. And that's probably the first thing a client's looking for. So I do a lot of rough scratch reads for clients all the time, like you mentioned, Laura. But like, I'm not always the right fit from the way my voice sounds, So that's what 11 Labs and AI voice cloning is really good at. As long as you communicate that to the client, hey, this is what their voice would sound like. So just try to picture with a little bit more direction that we'll give them.
Joey, that raises actually a really interesting point, communication. So, and I would ask this of both of you. How do we feel in general about communicating when we're using AI to our clients? So whether it's agency to client, or Laura, even internally, right? We generated this through AI. Like, do we feel that that's necessary, or does it not matter?
Do you mean with respect to like facing the world? Like, so say you use it for like some sort of like digital creation, like a social media post. Like, are you saying like having a little watermark there?
Well, I just in general, how much do we have to disclose, right? Like as to where the thought came from? Because I can tell you, going back to your initial point, my feeling on this is, yes, an image, and there's a whole concept around, rights and restrictions around who owns, right, the AI-driven imagery that's created. But do we feel the need to convey like, hey, we got to this point using AI, or because we've adopted it, and we have massaged it so much that does it really matter, right? Because we're not just handing you something that came straight from AI. We're involved to try to adjust it a bit. Or do you think you have to disclose everything? Like this particular piece I used AI for. Is that necessary?
I don't think it's necessary. And other creatives might be like, that's bullshit. You should. But that's just how I feel. I feel like I don't know. It like feels like it just sucks the air out of it, like takes the magic out of it.
I almost feel like a year ago, I would expect that more, but now I think it's understood that everyone's using it. Because even writing, right, Brian? Like writing, like we know whether we're writing or even some of our partners and agencies, like this written content, like I have to assume that there is AI used in some form and fashion. However, there's a liability of like if they were to swipe something completely and then there'd be a corroborating, then that to me is like then, and I'm sure that will happen and it can happen. Is like who does that fall on? But I'm sure there are contracts between groups and parties that like people are signing stuff now to say whose responsibility is it if they were to somebody to come back. And I remember this, Joey, even just a few years ago where it was, what's the comfort level of using some of this AI imagery because that's someone's photograph potentially that like. And then someone improvised on
a
top
version
of
of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like there's like those rights. So like and I know, Brian, we've had internal conversations from a legal standpoint, like where are we comfortable? And we know the risks.
Yeah.
And so I think it's almost like, I'm sure there's more formality around it, I would guess, in some organizations and between partners, but we all have to understand or assume that tools are being used in every capacity.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to what you said, Brian, about getting left behind, or one of us brought that up. I know I did a little bit. Like if we're constantly being precious about that and we're just going to get left behind, because everyone else is doing it. I know that, and that's kind of not really a good justification or argument to like doing that, but I think, I think defaulting to not sharing that, but always making sure everything you push out, you're checking to see, okay, maybe we should have a disclaimer here for whatever reason.
But I think I agree with Laura. I think if you're just handing something off that's 100% AI driven, absolutely you should disclose that 100%, right? Because that's not anybody's specific work. But I think if you're using it as a tool, which we should all assume everybody's using it as a tool today. And to your point, if they're not, they're probably not in business anyways because they've been left behind or in the process of being left behind. I don't think it's necessary. I feel like it's just another tool. I wouldn't say that I use the web to go find or Wikipedia to go find information on something, right? That was just a tool that I used in order to be able to get that information. So I agree with you guys. But I know it is a topic that comes up, and Laura, to your point, I mean, we struggle with it just from a, legally, what do we have the rights to be able to use and not? And I know we're not alone in that struggle. So, well, you guys, I think we could talk about this all day. I mean, this is such an interesting topic. Joey, it's great to have you on this side of the table having this conversation with you.
And you're not even going on the hot seat. You got out so easy this time.
I'm shocked.
We did. We let you off easy for sure.
I'd love to join you guys again sometime for a conversation, and I would hope that time you start with a hot seat question and then end with another one.
Oh, now look at you.
I'll be ready
trying to
for
produce
it.
our show. What's happening?
Yeah, not getting all brave now that it's all over, Laura. He's going to get all brave on us. But Joey, we appreciate you being here. And for those of you, thanks for listening. And most importantly, if you like what you heard today, be sure to follow us.